Justin Prochnow, as many of you know, is an attorney with Greenberg Traurig. He is an expert, and that is a true definition, an expert in regulatory issues affecting the food, but the beverage and supplement industry. So that was a long-winded way of saying you're awesome, and thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So you were a judge in the New Beverage Showdown semifinals yesterday. Let's talk to us about your experience and what you saw yesterday.
It was interesting. I haven't done the judging before. We had 16 different products, and then there were 2 or 3 varieties of each one. So we had about 40 different products to try out, different flavors and things. So it was interesting because it's tough to try them out and compare them to each other, because if you're just comparing taste, I mean, you're always going to have like a lemonade or something tasting sweet is automatically going to jump to the top of the list. But
right.
If you're trying to compare them to what they do in the category, then it becomes a little bit more interesting. You look at different factors.
And trying 16 different beverages, multiple SKUs.
Yes,
that's a little tough. But you guys did a great job.
You guys tried beforehand, right?
Yes.
Everything's before
yeah.
the
So we
show.
did it like 45 minutes beforehand, and then we went on stage and they did their pitch. And I've been watching the last 10 BevNets, and the pitches and the products are a lot closer to finished form than they were. I know from what you've seen in the last 5 years.
Absolutely, it's a lot more polished. People are watching, presentations. I mean, I can't tell you how many people came up to me like, Ray, I feel like I know you. I keep watching all these presentations. People are
have
trying
your
to
own show. I mean,
this is kind of what it is right now.
Right.
This is the Ray Latif.
Well, you look at the people from FBU, which are a little bit younger. You can definitely see a difference between the level of professionalism between BevNet and then our FBU events.
Yeah.
So Danny Sepper was here. You know Danny just a minute ago, and he was talking about function, and that entrepreneurs are a little bit smarter than they have been in the past because they're not making claims that they shouldn't be making, which is your area of expertise. They're trying their best to make claims that are pretty well known and widely accepted. Talk a little bit about that and how to best make, and you talked a little bit about this yesterday up on stage, about how to best market to consumers without getting in trouble.
Sure. I mean, it's the number one area. And of course, when we talk about what you need to do, of course, you always want to be compliant with the FDA and with the FTC, but it's really become an issue of staying away from the class action lawsuit more than even complying with the FDA and the FTC. But I would say in making claims, you don't have to make every claim about an ingredient or a product. As I said yesterday, we have this little thing called the internet, and you can say the product has green tea, and there's an awful lot of people who know about all the different benefits of green tea that you don't have to be the one to talk about how it helps reduce the risk of heart attacks or cancer, if that's the case, because one, you can't make those claims for a food or a beverage product, and two, you have to have good science to back that up. So, obviously you want to make claims to distinguish your product, but I get a lot of clients who come in and I tell them, you don't have to be the one to educate them about every aspect of that ingredient. Once you talk about the ingredients and a few of the general claims, they're going to either do more research or find that out. The number one thing I find is making sure that you have enough of that ingredient in your product to be making the claims.
Good segue, and I know I'm going to...
I was just saying, I know that we were talking about doing a segment on social media on FBU in terms of claims. I was wondering, is the FDA, are they a little bit less stringent in terms of claims on social media because it's a little more casual of a platform?
I would say not less stringent. They probably just don't have the manpower to be focusing on it as much, but I've been dealing with a couple warning letters recently that were sent to companies that didn't address the claims made by the company on their own website. They addressed claims made by their distributors on the distributors' own social media pages. And companies are responsible for anything that their distributors say about the product. So they were going to not the company's Facebook page, but to this individual distributor's Facebook page or Pinterest page or Twitter page and saying, hey, you're making disease claims about the product, and that comes back to the company. So social media is subject to the same standards as any other type of advertising. I would say it hasn't been as much of a focus, but it's becoming more and more of a focus as more and more companies are using it.
Now, getting back to what you talked about in terms of making a claim and having enough of an ingredient to actually sufficiently make that claim, GT's Kombucha was sued in a lawsuit that some people decried as a fluff lawsuit. Some people were really actually upset about it, thinking this is just another lawyer trying to take advantage of, well, nothing, really. How much do you know about that lawsuit? And is there some validation to it? Because I think that was really at the heart of the lawsuit, was the antioxidants that GT's was promoting and marketing didn't come from an FDA-approved ingredient. Is that correct?
Right. So, without getting into the specifics of the GT lawsuit, in general, first of all, there's no such thing as an FDA-approved. I mean, the FDA doesn't approve ingredients or any types of claims because it comes down to what is the science that you have to support it. So, there are certain types of claims. We talked about yesterday the nutrient content claim, where you can't say something is high in a particular ingredient unless there's a daily value and you have at least 20% of the daily value. In something like the antioxidant claim, where they're saying antioxidants come from, let's say, green tea, as an example, I mean, the FDA has not come out and approved, okay, you can make antioxidant claims for these ingredients.
Right.
You just simply have to have science that shows that, in fact, antioxidants come from that and they provide these types of benefits. It's a more and more common type of lawsuit being brought. In the last couple of years, I've given a lot of presentations at FBU and others talking about the all-natural or the natural claims. And, for a long time, that was far and away the number one class action lawsuit. We're seeing a lot more types of lawsuits saying, you said your product was going to do this. There's really no science or support to back that up. There's really no private claim for lack of substantiation, but that's essentially what it is. False and misleading claims. You say your product's going to do this, and there's really no support for it. And that's where we're seeing more and more of the class action lawsuits going. So it's really important, getting back to what you said about the level of an ingredient. You can't just rely on, everyone knows that vitamin C helps treat colds and flu.
Right.
So it prevents, it helps support a healthy immune system. But most of the science probably shows that you need 500 milligrams or let's say 700 milligrams. If your product is only 100 milligrams and you're telling people to take 3 capsules a day, you're not encouraging people to consume enough to actually receive the benefits of all the science out there. So you have to make sure that your science backs up your claims, or you're at risk for some of these types of lawsuits.
Right. So now, yesterday, I think we have time for one more question. Yesterday, you dropped what seemed to be kind of a bombshell on people. There was a big murmur in the audience when you had said
when I said you can't say good source of happiness?
Yes, that was one of those things. That was good. No, but when you had said that there are lawyers out there who will go to a store on a weekend, grab 50 products, bring them back to their conference rooms, look at each one, try to find something wrong, and try to get a settlement out of it. Does that really happen?
Without a doubt. I mean, there are, I used to call it a cottage industry. It's now a full-blown mansion industry. There are some plaintiff lawyers similar to other personal injury lawyers, but that's all they do is they're bringing these types of food labeling claims, and they're scouring the FDA website for warning letters. They're looking at things like when Whole Foods, makes some announcement that a product isn't natural and they pull it from the shelf.
Right.
Or they're just going and I've had a lot of people say, I could make a lot of money by just flipping to the dark side. At least it's the dark side here in this industry, certainly, and going and trying to get look at labels. So they have people that full time, they just go and they say, hey, we're going to pull these products out and we'll pick the next 30, and if 10 of them respond and say, hey, we'll settle, then we just made anywhere from $30,000 to $60,000 on each of those. So we just made $400,000 for a couple hours of looking at labels. So.
So they're like the Ultrons of the world, and you're like the Iron Man of the world,
That-
trying to save one beverage company at a time.
That is a great analogy.
You like that?
I am like one of the Avengers.
You are one of the Avengers, and you're a great guy. Justin,
Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining
Thank
us.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.